Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk about the solution. Let's talk.
Hey, this is what you missed today, and let's talk only about the solution. Check it out.
Confidence into our people so that we don't fall into that, because that's my main thought on that. Because you're right, I think that if you don't have self-love and self-care, how can you care for anyone? But how can we help that as a community? I mean, what could we do to change that?
And you make a great point, and it starts with the community. I grew up, I never knew my father, so I'm not, and I never used that as a crutch or an excuse, because I'm not the only one. Right. I mean, I realize that I'm not the only one, but I grew up in a family of, and pretty much predominantly women ran our households, and they loved us though, but they held us accountable too for our actions. I recall. I'll make this a quick story, but I was on the bus, and as a young man, I was probably 14, and I was on the back of the bus, and I was cussing like a sailor, and I was with my buddies, and we were coming back from football practice, and we was cussing. So I was like, oh, well, there's my stop. So, if you guys rode the Chicago CTA bus, so you can get off at the back or the front.
That was like the cool spot.
Right.
In the back.
So I got off at the back, and then I did not. And when I got off, I realized that my grandmother's best friend was in the front.
Ooh. She's calling us. I know she called the face.
And let me tell you,
Don't tell me you went home.
I was in fear because
you should have went home.
Well, you know what? Well, I was so scared because she said I'm so disappointed. I can't believe you were. She was like, wait till I tell your grandmother. So she started walking, and I was about maybe 10 steps behind her. So when her house was on the block before my grandmother's, so I'm like, man, please make the turn. Go into your house, right? And sure enough, she goes right past her house. I'm like, Lord, she's going straight to my grandmother. So by the time I got to the steps, she was already on her way back down. And she was like, your grandmother wants to talk to you. So I walk in, and I tell you, it's a picture of her. Her head is in her hands, And I was like, and she's like, she just looked at me like the shame.
Disappointment.
It was shame though.
Shame. Wow.
It was shame, and she's like, you carry my name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. You carry my name, and then she walked past and said, your food will be ready in a little while.
Wait till you sleep.
But I was
God.
like, just whoop me down.
Just get it over with.
Beat me, whoop me. I would take the whooping over the shame. It was like she was, and she said, you carry my name.
Oh, wow.
And then that day I learned a big lesson, because I learned that it isn't just about me. I have to do things the right way. And
for everybody,
right? Because I'm protecting her name, and it meant the world to her, to be a bird. She's like, you carry my name. So going forward, I always knew I wanted to be a police officer. It was embedded in me, and I've been carrying that torch ever since, because I love being out there. I want to help. I want to teach. I want to mentor. So to your point, how we get in front of it, we do have to start early. We have to get more involved in the community. What happened to the boy, like the girls and boys community clubs,
we need more of those.
We need those.
Yeah.
We need the YMCA's to be
back.
active.
Right.
We need kids, and not all about sports, because that's the kind of things we always fall for. Oh, you can play basketball. But what about the kids who are not athletic?
They're not, and they just got different
like
talents.
intellectual activities too, like playing a piano or arts school.
Yeah, we gotta
give them options.
We gotta make options for them. Chess, all these different
poetry.
things.
Some of them like poetry. They like to dance. That's like you just.
See, that's why. And I cut you. This is why we designed this program. Because we want to catch those kids from very young age who are unfortunate who can't go to a dance class or something, and that's why we made this program right here. Because whatever
that's where it starts, right?
We're gonna give back to those kids. We're gonna seek out those kids and find it. But I have one question, right?
Sure.
I remember when I first meet you walking down the street. it was like 100 degrees walking down the street. You know what I mean? And I look and I saw your stars, and I'm like, wow, that's the chief of police. You know what I mean? And I went up and I talked to you. You was just the most polite person. You know, you didn't look at me anyhow. We have a good conversation. You know what I mean? I think that our community need to go back to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The peace officer.
As a peace officer.
The peace
you know what I mean?
officer.
Because we think that, I think that they're losing, you know, the community, losing touch with the community. You know, and I think that what you're doing is great, and I have very much respect for that. You know what I mean? Because you don't find a lot of chief walking in, you know,
I've never seen a
downtown
chief
like
of
you,
police.
having a conversation with, you know, a guy like me. You know what I mean? And you know, that's very good. And the next question I want to ask you: how would it feel to be the first black police officer, the first black chief in DeKalb?
Yeah, 1856. So incorporated in 1856, and you know, first black chief ever in their history, and that just says something about, in my opinion, it says something about the city of DeKalb, that they understand that, you know, there needs to be change, and they evolve themselves as a city, because if you go back and look in history, now the city of DeKalb was a sundown city. Back in the day. So if you were a black person, you had to be out of the city by sundown. Wow. You know, and there are a lot of cities like that.
That's a lot of them.
Yeah, not just in Illinois, in different states.
Different states.
Yeah. So, but when you go back into the history and you evolve, they evolved though to the point where now in 2021 they have a black chief, and I felt, in my opinion, I always felt like I was a good soldier when I worked for all my bosses throughout my career, and not all of them. Some were black, but majority were Caucasian chiefs. And I was a good soldier. I did everything I was told to do, and now I feel like, now that I'm at the helm, I expect the same.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, be a good soldier for me. I'm leading here, and to your point, I've had, we talk about our conversation. I had some of the most amazing conversations in some of the most unexpected locations. You know, like in Walmart or in a parking lot of Walgreens, I had it started out with one person, and then it ended up two, and then it ended up 7 and 8 people were just, and it was like a little, like we were I'm like, who thought we would have
service, man?
It was, but it was meaningful conversation. It was meaningful. It was to the point. They were asking real questions, you know, and how are we going to get better? How are we going to reduce crime? But, you know, and things that we, you know, that we don't always, it's a multifaceted answer. This didn't happen, you know, overnight. So so I can tell you right now, the solution won't happen overnight. But I will tell you this: we start young. We start working on the children, education. The community has to be involved. We have to, and this is one of the biggest things that I've always said at the PD, is that when I go on the roll call, I want a picture of humanity, and I mean that. I want every race to be accounted for, sexual orientation, every background. I want to walk into my roll call room and just see a microcosm of the world. You know what I mean? And then I know then. And I don't mean by tolerate, because people say, we tolerate that. No, don't tolerate. You have to accept
tolerate
each other.
Tolerate's not
Tolerating is the wrong thing.
Love is acceptance.
And the city of DeKalb is a city of belonging. Belonging means I get to be a part of the decisions.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? If you imagine if you were, you know, making, let's say we're making macaroni. So I have the water, and that's all I have. But you have the macaroni, you know, and you have the cheese. See, I can't make it without you guys.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? So even though I have the water, how do I go forward? And that's how we come together. That's how, you know, the races. You know,